Or did she come because she feared he was losing himself all over again? And if that is the truth, what does it say about the cost of the life Taehyung has built? A life so dazzling, so relentless, that even his mother had to cross continents just to glimpse the person he has become. In the end, no confirmation has arrived. An clarifying detail has settled the debate, and maybe it never will. Because sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that no amount of fact-checking can diminish. Sometimes, a single glimpse of a familiar face in a Parisian crowd is all it takes to remind us that fame is never truly a solitary pursuit, that even the most solitary icons are tethered to the people who remember who they were before the world decided to tell them who to become. And so, the cameras will keep rolling. The fans will keep watching. The questions will keep multiplying. Was it really her? And if it was, what does that mean for everything Taehyung has spent a lifetime trying to protect? By dawn in Seoul, hashtags like hashtag Taehyung Mom Paris, hashtag Protect Taehyung, and hashtag Who Is She were trending in over 40 countries. Fan forums that had been quiet since the last BTS group announcement were suddenly flooded with speculation, breakdowns, and grainy screen caps. Some posts were earnest, almost pleading. If that was really his mom, I hope she was proud of him. He looked so tired. Others were angry. Why can't he just have one moment without everyone dissecting his private life? And some were simply consumed by the irresistible drama. We need answers. Was she there to save him from the Paris chaos, or to confront him about the rumors? Because for many, the timing felt too perfect or too suspicious to be a coincidence. Taehyung didn't just arrive in Paris to sit politely in the front row. He was the event. The cameras didn't merely follow him into the Petit Palais. They revolved around him like he was the sun itself. Every flicker of his expression became instant content. And if you look closely, really closely, there is one moment that no amount of PR gloss can erase. Seconds after stepping onto the black carpet, Taehyung pauses, glancing over his shoulder in that quiet, searching way he has when something is tugging at the edge of his attention. For just an instant, the mask slips. His eyes scan the crowd. His jaw tightens. Is he looking for her? Or looking for a way to pretend he doesn't see her at all? That question has become the center of an emotional hurricane, because in that moment, all the illusions about invincibility, the fantasy that Taehyung is too luminous, too adored, too untouchable to ever feel small, fell away, and maybe that's why the footage feels so raw. Fans have always imagined his mother as the quiet presence, just out of frame, the woman who raised him in the countryside, who packed his lunch when he was still a skinny boy with impossible dreams, who stayed home while the world learned to worship him. In interviews, he rarely mentions her without his voice dropping to something softer, as though even speaking about her in public is a kind of trespass. If she really followed him to Paris, if she slipped into that gilded crowd just to watch her son reclaim the world stage. What does that mean? Was she there because she couldn't bear to watch from a screen thousands of miles away, or because she needed to see for herself whether the rumors were true, rumors that fame had begun to hollow him out from the inside? For days, the headlines churned. Taehyung's secret Paris reunion, exclusive photos of the woman who stunned fans. Was Taehyung's mom the real guest of honor at Celine? Speculation rages. Did his mother intervene to protect him? Even the French media, usually indifferent to K-pop fervor, began covering the story. One tabloid ran a cover with a single, incendiary question: Est-elle vraiment? Who is she, really? But no matter how many times the footage aired, no matter how many pundits weighed in, the only opinion that mattered remained unspoken. Taehyung did not flinch. He did not offer a statement, or a denial, or even a casual aside in an interview. Instead, he walked into the Palais de Tokyo, posed for the flashbulbs, and left every unanswered question hanging in the night air like perfume. And perhaps that silence was its own message. Some truths are not yours to demand. Yet the questions kept growing, sprawling into ever more tangled theories. Point one claimed she was spotted slipping into a private Celine reception later that evening, standing near the back of the room as Park Bo-gum raised a toast to Taehyung's first public event since military service. Another insisted she never set foot in the building, that the woman in the video was a European stylist with an uncanny resemblance, and nothing more. But in a fandom built on the careful collection of moments, on the belief that if you look hard enough you will find the proof you crave, no explanation can ever feel satisfying, because this isn't really about whether she was there or not. It's about what it means to believe she was. It's about the yearning to think that even as the world tries to consume every piece of Taehyung, his face, his talent, his myth, there is still one person who sees him as he was before any of this began. One person whose love is not transactional or conditional or performative. One person who might have flown across continents not to bask in his spotlight, but to remind him that no amount of fame can sever the bond that made him. And maybe that is why the image has such power, because it allows fans to believe that even when he is surrounded by stylists and executives and the crushing weight of expectation, there is still someone who knows the boy behind the legend, someone who remembers his quiet voice, someone who remembers the way he once dreamed of singing, someone who remembers him as a son first, not a spectacle. Of course, the narrative isn't all tenderness. For every fan who sees that moment as a testament to enduring love, there is another who sees it as proof that Taehyung is trapped, that he can never truly break free from the demands placed on him, even by the people he trusts most. What if she came not to comfort him, but to confront him? What if her presence was a warning that no matter how far he runs, he cannot outrun the expectations of family? This theory, darker and more unsettling, has gained traction among fans who believe that the past year has changed him more profoundly than anyone admits. After all, military service does not merely pause an idol's life. It reshapes it. What happens when you step away from the stages and the accolades and discover that you are no longer certain you want to go back? What happens when you return to the same rooms and find they feel foreign? What happens when the person you used to be feels as unreachable as a stranger? Maybe the woman in that video knew that better than anyone. Maybe she came because she recognized the look in her son's eyes, the quiet dissonance of a man who is no longer sure whether the version of himself the world wants is the version he can keep performing, and maybe that's the truth no one wants to consider. That fame has not only changed him, it has cost him something he can never fully reclaim. Because if you watch that clip, if you really watch it, you will see a moment that feels almost unbearably human, that a man stepping into a dream he once fought to reach, that a mother, maybe, watching from the edges, that a silence between them more eloquent than any explanation. Is that the price of becoming a legend, or is it simply the price of being someone's child? Either way, the story is no longer just about whether she was there. It is about the truth that no one, not even Kim Taehyung, can ever truly control the narrative the world insists on telling about them. And maybe that is the most haunting reality of all. Did you see it? Did you pause the video at exactly the right second? The moment the camera panned across the polished marble steps of the Celine Printemps 2026 runway entrance and captured something so unexpected it nearly broke the internet overnight. Because if you haven't, you might want to look again. Under the soft glow of Parisian streetlights, just beyond the wall of photographers screaming Taehyung's name, a figure moved with deliberate care, keeping her gaze lowered, clutching the handle of a designer bag. Her steps measured but unmistakably hesitant. Was it really her? Within minutes of the footage hitting social media, a single freeze frame began circulating at lightning speed across Twitter, TikTok, and countless Korean fan cafes. A woman with familiar eyes, dressed in an understated beige coat, walking a half-beat behind Taehyung's entourage as he made his first triumphant return to global fashion after completing his military service. The speculation was instant and ferocious. Could it be that Kim Taehyung's mother, whose appearances in public have always been shrouded in mystery, decided to join him in Paris in secret? And if she did, what was she doing at one of the most exclusive fashion events in the world? An event that even some of the most influential celebrities struggle to enter without an invitation? Or was it simply a lookalike, an innocent bystander caught in the crossfire of a fandom that has become addicted to decoding every detail, every shadow, every silhouette that drifts across the frame of Taehyung's life? The questions spiraled without mercy, and they grew more insistent because this wasn't just any event. This was the moment Kim Taehyung stepped onto the global stage for the first time since shedding the uniform that defined nearly 2 years of his existence. A moment of rebirth, transformation, and perhaps quiet defiance. Why would he bring his mother into that spotlight? Or, the more unsettling question, why would she choose to be there if he didn't invite her? When fans first saw the video, posted by a French paparazzi outlet specializing in high-fashion celebrity coverage, many assumed the woman was simply another stylist or assistant. The Celine guest list included dozens of behind-the-scenes power players, PR handlers, international liaisons, brand consultants. But the longer people looked at the image, the tilt of her chin, the curve of her cheek, the delicate, familiar way she seemed to fold her hands against her coat, the harder it became to dismiss the resemblance. Almost immediately, thousands began combing through old family photos and archived fan accounts. They juxtaposed screenshots of this Paris sighting with childhood images of Taehyung and his mother, carefully studying every pixel as though the truth was buried inside the grainy resolution. And as the comparisons piled up, so did the theories. Was this a carefully orchestrated family reunion, hidden in plain sight beneath the glitter of Paris Fashion Week? Was it possible Taehyung had insisted she join him, as a way to honor the sacrifices she made long before he was ever known as V of BTS? Back when he was simply a boy with an impossible dream? Or was it the opposite? Was she there against his wishes, determined to witness the son she had seen disappear and to fame return to something close to himself again? The speculation became more fevered because for many fans, Taehyung's relationship with his mother has always felt like the last private sanctuary in a life otherwise lived entirely in public. While other members' families have appeared in documentaries, interviews, and award speeches, Taehyung has been more guarded. His occasional mentions of her have been tender but brief, a soft acknowledgement that behind the myth of V is a son whose devotion never needed spectacled. Why now? Why Paris? Why choose the most public moment of his professional resurgence to share space with someone he has always protected from the glare of fame? Or, perhaps, the better question is, did he have any choice at all? As fans scrambled to make sense of the sighting, even the most trusted insiders were reluctant to offer clarity. No official statement was released by Taehyung's representatives, no confirming or denying of the woman's identity. Celine declined to comment on the guest list, insisting that all details were confidential. But the lack of denial only fanned the flames, because when you spend years believing you know someone, when you have memorized every interview, every lyric, every microexpression that passes over his face, you start to feel entitled to answers. And when you don't get them, you fill in the silence with the most tantalizing story you can imagine. Some insisted this was simply a moment of filial pride, a mother quietly celebrating the son who had finally reclaimed his autonomy after military duty. Others whispered that this was something darker, a sign that Taehyung's return to public life was more complicated than anyone realized, that behind the polished facade of his fashion comeback, there was tension he could no longer keep hidden. But perhaps the most compelling theory came from a single tweet that went viral within hours. What if she didn't come to support him? What if she came to save him? The idea landed with the force of a revelation. After all, the past few weeks have been a whirlwind for Taehyung. He completed a grueling military commitment with the Special Task Force of the Military Police Corps, an experience known for its intense discipline and physical demands. He re-entered an industry that had transformed in his absence, an industry where every move is scrutinized, monetized, and inevitably weaponized against you. He stepped into the most high-stakes moment of his career, the chance to prove that he could return to the global stage without missing a beat, that he could reclaim the magic that once made him the most magnetic figure in K-pop. But what if all that pressure had become too much? What if the woman standing behind him wasn't just a bystander or a proud parent? What if she was there because she knew, in a way no fan ever could, how much her son needed her to be? In the hours after the clip surfaced, the footage was dissected by body language experts on YouTube, with entire channels devoting hour-long videos to analyzing the way Taehyung occasionally glanced over his shoulder, never quite making eye contact, never quite acknowledging the woman who followed in his wake. Was it guilt? Was it gratitude? Or was it something in between, a reluctant Surrender to the reality that even the most fiercely independent icons are, in the end, someone's child. No one could say for sure. And perhaps that is why this moment has captured so many imaginations, because it forces us to reckon with the truth that the stories we project onto idols are always incomplete. IT reminds us that even a man as carefully curated as Kim Taehyung cannot entirely control who shares a spotlight, or how that shared moment will be interpreted. But the questions remain, pulsing beneath every replay of the clip. Did she come to Paris because he asked her to? Because he wanted to mark his rebirth by honoring the woman who shaped him?